We present Kenneth Williams, Derek Nimmo, Clement, Freud, and Andree Melly in just a minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. I'm going to ask each person to try and speak for 60 seconds on some unlikely subject for just a minute, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject in any way. If one of the others thinks they are guilty of one of these crimes, they may press their buzzer and challenge. If I uphold their challenge, I will give them a point, and they take over the subject. If I don't uphold their challenge, the person speaking gains a point and continues until the 60 seconds is up. That is the way we play, that is the way we score, and this week we're going to begin with Kenneth Williams. Kenneth, a lovely subject for you to start with, what I most desire. Would you try and talk for 60 seconds on that subject, starting now?
Well, in common with so many other great people, it is, of course, utopian, in the sense that it is a paradise, an island somewhere where falls no rain, nor any snow, nor ever wind blows loudly, but it lies deep meadowed happy there, with orchard lawns and bowery hollows crowned with summer sea, where I may heal me of my grievous wound, and my wound is grievous, for I have been most deeply humiliated, most deeply hurt, and moreover, I could tell you things like your echo. I was put through the most dreadful tantrums, and moreover, there...
Clement, Freud, you challenged twice. Why?
No, I only challenged once.
I did once.
Oh, I see. Well, Chairman, your challenge came in first. Why did you challenge?
Deviation.
Yes, on what grounds?
Well, my hair couldn't curl to begin with.
I think there was quite a deal of deviation from what I most desire in that. So, Clement Freud, you have 1 point, because I agree with the challenge. You have 23 seconds left for what I most desire, starting now.
What I most desire is a small cottage in the country with roses round the door and somebody else's wife standing on the mat, waiting to meet.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge. Why?
Deviation, somebody else's wife.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it would be common to accept that this is a devious way to go along in the society as it is formed today, if you'll forgive my pomposity, but what else can I say?
It's only somebody else's wife to do for me. I mean,
That gets even worse, Clement Freud. So,
I prefer married staff.
I think you're getting even further embroiled. There are now 18 seconds, Derek Nimmo, for what I most desire, starting now.
What I most desire is a glass of water taken from a little burn outside Aberdeen, with the trout still swimming in the bottom of the glass, and there I could...
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Deviation, a trout could not swim in the bottom of that glass.
You're quite right, even a baby trout. So, Kenneth, you have the subject back, you have another point for that, and there are 8 seconds left for what I most desire, starting now.
Oh, I most desire to be totally uninhibited. Take it all off, I cry. Strip off the mask.
Derek Nimmo, why have you challenged?
Deviation, I
I most desire?
think. He's stripping it all off and throwing it everywhere.
Yes, well, all right, it may sound devious to you, but I mean, he's allowed to do it if he wishes.
Yes, I'm talking about me libido.
Well, if you keep your libido down for a little and continue with what I most desire for the next 3 seconds, starting now.
Oh, complete freedom for my soul, so that it may fly into space.
As Kenneth Williams was speaking, when the whistle went, it means that he gains a point. And at the end of that round, Kenneth has got a commanding lead of 2 over everybody else.
Hooray! Oh, lackadayroo.
Lackadayroo, Mr. Kenneth Williams. I suggest you keep your finger firmly on your buzzer and see if you can maintain that lead. And Andree Melly, will you begin the next round? Making passes. 60 seconds, starting now.
What you need is a lot of dynamite, a bit of elbow grease, a pickaxe or a bulldozer, and a large mountain, and you're away. On the other hand, you could have a pair of false eyelashes, a miniskirt, and you'll probably have a great success. Italy is supposed to be the country where passes are made at you all the time. I went there quite often, and nobody ever said Bella Bella and pinched my behind.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge. Why?
Reputation of Bella Bella.
Yes. So there we are. Your wonderful command of language loses you the subject, and a point for Derek Nimmo. 35 seconds left for making passes, Derek, starting now.
You see, you have to have one to enter my house. And how I make them is this. You see, I have a piece of green cardboard, and I print on the top, "This is the house of Derek Nimmo."
Andree, you've challenged. What?
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. So, Andree, you have 27 seconds for making passes, starting now.
You have printed on the top, "This is the house of Derek Nimmo," and then you press...
Clement, Freud, you've challenged. What?
Repetition of Derek Nimmo.
Yes, and the whole of that sentence, because we've had it once in this round. 24 seconds left for making passes, starting now.
It is often said that if you stand in Piccadilly Circus, all sorts of people will pinch you on the behind. In France, the men tend to go up to the ladies and say, "Mademoiselle, vous êtes si belle."
Andree, Melly, you've challenged. What?
Hesitation.
Yes, there was. There was also Bella.
But that's how they speak.
Well, all I can say is, Clement, your demonstration loses you the subject. Andree Melly, 10 seconds left, making passes, starting now.
At parties, the most usual opening gambit is, "Haven't we met before?" which people say to you when they know perfectly well they never have.
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Deviation, this is a conversational gambit. It has nothing to do with making a pass.
Well, it depends on the way it is said. It is very difficult to judge on this, and I think this could be the opening to a pass or a pass in itself.
Well,
so I'm still with Andree, who has another point.
Well, I will defer to your judgment.
You're so helpful, Kenneth. 3 seconds left, starting now. Clement Freud, you've challenged. What?
Hesitation.
Hesitation, Clement, you have a point. 2 seconds for making passes, starting now.
Get over there, you old cow, you say.
That last most revolting pass of Clement Freud, which I hope brings him no success anywhere, has gained him 2 points because he was speaking as the whistle went and won for the challenge, and he now has a small lead over the rest of the...
Oh, I've lost my lead.
Yes.
Oh.
On Derek Nimmo, will you begin the next round? My forebears. That is the subject. 60 seconds, starting now.
Once upon a time, I went down to the wood with my 4 bears. There was a daddy one, a mummy, a baby, and a midget. And I went into our little house, and round the table was a big chair, a small chair, a middle-sized one, and a dwarf one. I sat on the first one. It was too hard. I sat on the second. It was too soft. I sat on the third. It was just right, but I transferred my affections to the little tiny weeny one, and that was even better. And then on the table was a bowl of oats, and I tasted the first bowl belonging to those furry creatures that I've been talking about, one quadruplet, and there the first one was too hot, and the second one was too cold, the third was just right, but the teeny weeniest one of all was the nicest of the lot.
Andree Melly, why have you challenged?
A repetition, because he's been eating so many lots.
I'm sorry, Derek, I love the story, actually. So there are 11 seconds left, Andree, for you to carry on with my forebears, starting now.
Great Uncle Willie was my favourite. When he died, he was with his maid, who was called Davis, and he looked up and he said to her, "Oh, hell," and then he died.
At the end of that round, we have an interesting situation. Andree Melly, who's not with us regularly, has taken the lead just in front of the others. Clement Freud, will you begin the next round? Getting on with other people. Will you try and talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
Getting on with other people is something which is very simple if you are of a magnanimous and generous phrase of mind and a bent such as Kenneth Williams would show to people. Oh, challenge.
Derek Nimmo, challenge. Why?
Hesitation.
There was hesitation. I thought it was deviation when he was talking about his bent mind, but here we are. 46 seconds for you, Derek Nimmo, to go on with getting on with other people, starting now.
Well, of course, it's terribly important, I think, to get on with other people. I make a point of it. Every time I go on the underground, I say, "What ho, how are you, folks?" And people are always terribly pleased when you wave them a cheery wave. And then you sit beside them and you say, "How are you today?"
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged? Yes, there was a hesitation there, only just, but there we are.
I was sitting down, you know.
So, in this game, you haven't got time for such niceties. There are 33 seconds left for getting on with other people, Kenneth, starting now.
I think one of the secrets is to give them the impression that they are finer than the real facts would merit. And I think that the more you assure people of their finer qualities, the more fine
Nimmo,
they will
challenged.
become in the process.
Derek Nimmo, why
Very
did...
kindly repeated it again, fine.
Yes, and there we are. There are 18 seconds left for getting on with other people, Derek, starting now.
Oh, it is such fun, you know. When you go to Ramsgate on a Tuesday morning and you see all those fellows on the road selling herrings and going round the place like that very quickly, you see, then you have to run these silly and why don't you challenge him? You talk absolute rubbish and everything. Sorry,
You have been challenged. Clement, you challenged.
Deviation from the English language.
The justified challenge, 8 seconds left for getting on with other people, Clement, starting now.
Ideally, you do it by your own personal...
Andree, Melly, you've challenged.
He hesitated.
Yes, he couldn't get his own personal out, could he? There we are. 4 seconds left for getting on with other people, Andree, starting now.
The best thing to do is to say nothing and just listen to them talking, and then they think you're lovely.
Once again, Andree Melly was speaking as the whistle went, so she gets that extra point, and now she has a lead of 2 over Clement Freud, who's in second place, and the others are just behind. Kenneth Williams, will you begin the next round? Sensationalism. How about that for a subject for you, Kenneth? You're nodding very seriously. Will
Yes,
you
I see your
continue
point.
for 60 seconds, starting now?
This is something I strongly disapprove of. Sensationalism is something which is directed at the baser instincts of human beings. It is something which we should never encourage in any way whatsoever. Because in appealing to the lower instincts of people...
Clement Freud, you've challenged. Why?
Repetition of instinct.
Yes, the level of instinct. 40 seconds left. Clement Freud for sensationalism, starting now.
Sensationalism has been called the lifeblood of Fleet Street, and indeed, without this, one wonders where the newspaper industry would be. If you buy a paper which comes up between 8pence and 9pence every week on a Sunday...
Andree Melly, you've challenged. Why?
Repetition, it comes out every week.
All right, Andree, I will give you a bonus point for cleverness. Leave the subject with Clement Freud. 27 seconds left for sensationalism, starting now.
You will find on the front page a piece of print which says, turn to page 4.
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Oh, deviation. You'll never find on the front page a piece of print.
I don't know. Do you really think there's such a thing as a piece of print?
Yes?
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, do you think there's such a thing as a piece of print? If you do, will you cheer? And if you don't think so, will you all boo, and will you all do it together now? The audience are the final judge, whether they're right or wrong. They don't think there's such a thing as a piece of print. So Kenneth Williams has a point. He has 22 seconds left for sensationalism, starting now.
This is done deliberately to get you going, and that's why I strongly disapprove of it. Everything should have a morality. It should be deeply rooted in logos, or, as the Greeks would say...
Clement Freud, why have you challenged?
Logos, I didn't like.
You maybe didn't like it, but it seemed to fit in all right, whatever it may mean in this context. So
I thought it was going to be something else.
I know you
Yes.
did. You were being just a bit too sharp there with your buzzer. 9 seconds left, Kenneth. And don't be intimidated by the chap sitting beside you, Kenneth. Sensationalism starting now.
The worst aspect of this, of course, is the ghost.
Clement Freud, why have you challenged?
Aspect is the word he was searching for.
It was the way he pronounced it. It was one of his characters.
A deviation of pronouncement.
It's, you could have the worst... Kenneth Williams has another point. It's about 7 seconds left for sensationalism, Kenneth, starting now.
The worst aspect of this...
Clement Freud, you've challenged.
In that case, it's repetition.
It was repetition that time. I quite agree of aspect, though.
Oh, it's a disgrace.
It is not a disgrace. You've done
I was
extraordinary...
going to tell you about the ghost train and everything. All the sensations I had in it. You've deprived yourself.
No,
That's what you've done.
I'm extremely pleased we've been saved that. Anyway, there are 5 seconds left for sensationalism. Clement Freud starting now.
You behaved like a pack of young dogs, says Judge, is possibly my favorite...
If you heard, listeners, if you heard any chuckling and laughter while they were actually speaking in that round, it was that Kenneth Williams and Clement Freud, who sit next to each other, were trying a bit of one-upmanship on each other and really trying to intimidate.
I was blandishing him.
Your blandishments didn't work. Clement Freud had another point at the end of that round, which gives him a lead of 1 over Andree, and Kenneth Williams is still in 3rd place. Derek Nimmo, will you begin the next round? Grace. Will you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
One thinks immediately of Grace Darling, perhaps, Grace Fields, and also one can think of it as a surname, the great Dr. W.G. I remember hearing about him from my forebear when he played at Lord's in 1895 and scored 100 before lunch. In other words, one can also, of course, be in a state of grace, or one can think of the term in the year of grace. If you think about it, it's the one with
Clement Freud, you've challenged.
Well, hesitation.
What's it?
Hesitation.
No, I don't think so. No. I thought you were going to have him for grace, and I was going to be terribly clever and say, yes, but they're all different types of grace. So anyway,
I'm sorry, I'll let you make your joke. We'll do it again.
All right, do it again. You're going to challenge again?
I'm going to challenge for repetition of
yes,
grace.
But they were all different types of grace.
Brilliant! Oh, this is a scintillator, isn't it?
Derek Nimmo has another point, and he has 27 seconds left for grace, starting now.
For the another point that I've just received, may the Lord make me truly thankful. That is an example of a grace that one might say on occasion in the game such as the one we're in at the moment. Also, if one is rather naughty, one sometimes ends up in that disgrace.
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, Kenneth, you have another point, and there are 13 seconds left for grace, starting now.
Grace, well, of course, this is a delightful quality, and I possess it
Clement
in great
Freud, why have you
abundance.
challenged?
It's not a quality.
Of course it is. Graciousness. What are you talking about, you great fool?
Grace is a state. It's not a quality.
Well, it is a state. It can, to some people, be, I think, a quality. And if it's Kenneth Williams, I'm sure it is a quality. So, Kenneth, with your quality, will you continue for 8 seconds on grace, starting now?
And as I say, this is something...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Repetition, he said it.
Yes, but he actually, it's the phrase he was using, as I say. He has not said that before. So Kenneth has another point, and there are 5 seconds left for grace, starting now.
And whenever I lose the game, people always say to me, didn't you do it with grace? The grace you had. Oh, I'm impressed with your grace. They always say that.
So, at the end of that round, Kenneth Williams has leapt into the lead.
Good.
Alongside Clement Freud. And they're 1 point in front of Andree Melly. Clement Freud, will you begin the next round? The subject is books. Will you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
Books are made of paper, invariably covered by hardboard. They're also soft-covered books, which are much cheaper and available at good newsagents, especially on railway stations. I am a great collector of books, preferring blue ones to those of any other color. I always think that if you get a book which is heliotrope, mauve, purple, or even violet, the continent...
Derek Nimmo, your challenge. Hesitation, yes. 31 seconds for books. Derek Nimmo, starting now.
I like, of course, good books. Now, I do think it's awfully important when you're bringing up young children that you should try to...
Kenneth Williams, hesitation. Kenneth, you have a point. 25 seconds for books, starting now.
Well, there is a book, Who Runs May Read, which Heavenly Truth imparts. Now, that, of course, was written by Keble in his famous one, and one asks oneself what it really means, you see. Who runs where? May Read, has she got the runs? A May Read runs? Who's that?
Your friend beside you, Buzz, Clement Freud.
Yes.
Why did you buzz, Clement?
It was an overrunning, a sort of a verbal diarrhea.
Just done yourself out of a dissertation on John Keble, one of your great poets. That's all you've done yourself out of.
All right, Clement, you have another point. 7 seconds left for books, starting now. Derek, remember your challenge. Why?
Hesitation, didn't
Yes,
say
hesitation, right. 6 seconds for books, Derek, starting now.
Most books start with a preface, which is terribly interesting reading, often better than the main content of the...
Andree Melly, you've challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Andree, you have the subject. 2 seconds left for books, starting now.
You can find an awful lot of them in libraries on his...
Well, you will be fascinated to hear there's but 1 point that separates the 3 leaders in this game. Clement Freud, Andree Melly, and Kenneth Williams. Kenneth, will you begin the next round? How I enjoy myself. Clement Freud, why did you challenge?
Disgusting.
You don't know till he opens his mouth.
Oh, all right.
Clement was trying to forestall your story. We've lost two lovely ones about what happened in the ghost train and your dissertation on John Keble. Now let's hear how you enjoy yourself, maybe in the same or other ways, we don't mind. 60 seconds on that subject starting now.
Well, of course, in Who's Who, it simply says that my hobbies are calligraphy and walking. Now, this is to a certain extent true, but not wholly so. No, you see, because I awfully enjoy a little bit of music, you see.
Oh, well.
I was trying to do him.
Kenneth Williams is telling us he's trying to do an impersonation of Derek Nimmo. He's given us about 3 or 4 other impersonations throughout the show.
His mouth was agape.
His was a gape, yours was a gog, and Clement Freud got him. You got the
I got the point.
And you got the point as well. Clement, you have another point. You have 43 seconds left for How I Enjoy Myself, starting now.
Actually, I enjoy myself most at a race meeting, particularly at Newbury, Ascot, and York. My main enjoyment comes from backing winning horses, that is to say, such equestrian quadrupeds.
Andree Melly, you've challenged.
Hesitation.
So there are 23 seconds left for How I Enjoy Myself, Andree, starting now.
I do it lots of different ways.
Derek Nimmo, why have you challenged?
Deviation. He does it lots of different ways.
I will very rapidly give you a bonus point for wicked cleverness and press on with Andree with the subject. 20 seconds left for How I Enjoy Myself, starting now.
In the country, at our cottage, in the sunshine with my baby is a very nice way to spend one's time. On the other hand, going skiing in the winter, if you can afford it, which isn't very often, and going down the mountains with the sun blazing and the crystal snow crunching under your feet.
Kenneth Williams, why have you challenged?
Hesitation.
Yes, there was almost just a hint of hesitation there, Andree. So, Kenneth has the subject, and there are 2 seconds left for How I Enjoy Myself, starting now.
Going up my shaft. Now, Andree, done lately.
Well, this really is, folks, a most exciting game. Derek Nimmo, the subject now is for you. Your round to begin. My briefcase. 60 seconds starting now.
Well, my briefcase actually is under the table on the other side at the moment, but I find it very useful, Red, because everybody has to keep their briefs somewhere, particularly, of course, barristers at law. And they are handed these briefs by solicitors generally, wrapped up with a bit of pink ribbon round them. They put them in these little bags and they carry them off to the law courts. I don't take mine to the place of law. I tend to take mine with me to television studios and also picnics. Every time I go down to Tunbridge Wells for a little repast in the open air, I take with me the aforesaid receptacle, and out of it I take sandwiches, bloated paste, cream cheese, jam.
Andree Melly, you've challenged.
Green cheese.
Well, just say why you challenged.
Deviation, it's cream.
Oh, if you said hesitation, I mean, cheese might be green. I mean, Derek might have a thing about green cheese. I don't know.
Lovely cheese.
No, you see, I've got it so difficult, to be fair, but I think that that is not devious within the rules of the game. So Derek keeps the subject. 23 seconds for my briefcase, starting now.
And I took it with me into the King's Arms at Wanstead, and there was a chap behind the bar, and he said, "You talk beer?" And I said, "No, I take with the Bull and Bush round the corner." And he said, "How very interesting." And I said, "I'm glad you find it fascinating. Would you like to see inside this little bag that I've got?" And he said, "I'd be delighted."
Andree Melly, why have you challenged?
Deviation.
Why?
This conversation with the pubkeeper wasn't really anything to do with his briefcase.
He just said, would you like to see this little bag I've got, which I understood to be his briefcase. So I'm still with Derek Nimmo. Derek, another point, and there are 9 seconds left for my briefcase. Derek, starting now.
And I took it out. You see, there's a bit of blotting paper inside. He said, "You always carry that round in the case of briefs." And I said, "I do. And not only that, I defy you to point to anybody else in this bar who hasn't got a similar piece of paper in his bag as well." And he said, "I don't believe it."
Well, as Derek Nimmo was speaking when the whistle went, he gets another point, and that also is the end of the show, and I have to tell you that it is a very exciting finish. Andree Melly was 4th place, 1 point behind Derek Nimmo, 1 point behind Kenneth Williams, who was 1 point behind Clement Freud. I would say it was almost a draw for all of them, but the person who did have one lead was Clement Freud. I would like to have said it was a draw, but there we are. Everybody did extraordinarily well. We hope you've enjoyed this particular edition of Just a Minute, and from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.
Thank you.